There's this push within the White House that is not from the Trump administration itself, but I think of some of the people within that are apprehensive about getting too involved in foreign affairs. And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be shocked if there was some kind of just not willingful to make the president embarrassed, but maybe willingful, um, not so much of a briefing.
We'll talk about matters USA, where a judge has again blocked Donald Trump from implementing his executive order to block birthright citizenship. Now, the ruling from District Judge Joseph LaPlante protects children who could be denied citizenship under Trump's order. It also paves the way for another Supreme Court case. Let's discuss this with Caitlin Doornbos, Washington, D.C. reporter for the New York Post. Hello again, Caitlin.
Hello, nice to hear from you.
Nice. Great to talk to you. Now, we know that the Supreme Court recently overturned a previous ruling and it curbed the power of lower court judges to issue nationwide injunctions. So how significant is this ruling from District Judge LaPlante?
Yes, it's quite significant especially in light of that recent Supreme Court ruling. That is really the issue that has, I think, most driven the White House up the wall, as far as the early responses that we've gotten from them so far. Really blasting an order federally across all 50 states, that's a really major thing to do. I mean, it happened all the time before this most recent Supreme Court decision. But, in light of that, the court says, this lower court says that it's different because this is maybe a class action suit. So there's some technicalities there. But really, it will be interesting to see how the Supreme Court itself reacts to this, relative rebuke of its ruling.
It appears that Judge LaPlante has stayed the implementation of his ruling to give the Trump White House the chance to appeal, presumably to the Supreme Court. What do you think their argument will be, the Trump White House?
The Trump White House will argue, I think largely it will be based on that Supreme Court decision. They will say that they don't have the grounds that lower court does not have the grounds to implement a federal-wide decision. Now, that will go back to LaPlante, who may or may not agree with the White House, but he is the one who issued the order in the first place. So I wouldn't be shocked if he slapped that down. Then I would expect the Trump administration to appeal that decision to a higher court, and likely if it made it all the way to the Supreme Court, I would expect them to agree with the administration, but that will be something to definitely keep our eyes on.
Yeah. Also getting coverage in Washington and indeed here on the front page of one or two of our tabloids is President Trump's meeting with five West African presidents, including notably the president of Liberia, Joseph Boakai, whom he said, I'm really impressed with your English. Where did you get such beautiful English? Are you educated? I mean, we found that extraordinary. How are people responding in the States?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think a lot of Americans are like Donald Trump and apparently did not know that Liberia had this history and connection to the United States.
Wow.
Yes, I know. The Americans are very much focused on America right now in this current political environment.
Even though their flag has a star and stripes.
I think the vast majority of Americans that I know, at least, but that's I hate to say that about my country and its education level, but I do think that it was a real failure, I think, in the White House to prepare the president. I can't believe that nobody told the president, hey, by the way, there's this connection between our countries. That seems like a massive failure on the behalf of the White House and whoever prepped the president to go into that meeting.
Assuming they prepped him and he didn't forget. But there we go. Because, right. I mean, some people, you would imagine that they would tell him if he's meeting the leaders of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania and Senegal, they would have told him the reason why he was having that meeting and the special connection with Liberia. You would have thought, because there is such a population group called Americo-Liberians.
You would have thought, but there is also, I mean, I've been covering this for a while. There's this push within the White House that is not from the Trump administration itself, but I think of some of the people within that are apprehensive about getting too involved in foreign affairs. And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be shocked if there was some kind of just not willingful to make the president embarrassed, but maybe willingful, not so much of a briefing just because they
Right.
didn't find it of that much importance. That's just conjecture, though. I can't say
Yeah.
that for true.
Do we know why he was meeting those 5 African presidents? What came out of it? Because some of them bent the knee. I mean, the president of Mauritania said, you came to the rescue for peace. You rushed to Africa to resolve a long-standing problem. It's like toe curling. It's a bit like when he has a cabinet meeting and they all bend the knee and tell him how great a leader he is. Did anything concrete come out of it?
Well, I think that world leaders are largely understanding that that's how you get the most engagement out of Trump.
Yeah.
Nothing solid has come so far, but I think that the impression that they made on the president was very positive. And so anything in the future, I mean, this is how you play the game with the U.S. president right now. And benefits, I think, will come from the future.
Yeah. Maybe rare earth minerals for Trump and maybe a stay on tariffs for those African leaders. Who knows? Who knows, Caitlin?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
It's all about talking about those things that motivate the president and
Yeah.
also the presidents of other countries.
Sure. Okay, and what about this one? Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate, a Palestinian activist, detained by the Trump administration for months, famously. Now, the lawyers have filed a $20 million claim for false imprisonment. What are people saying about that? It feels like a big lawsuit.
Yeah, it is. It's a massive lawsuit, and it's split right down the political aisle in the center. Obviously, the right is very infuriated about this, and think that there's no case that Khalil has here, and the left is supportive of Khalil. And have been and really see it as an opportunity, I think, to challenge a lot of these deportations and new serious changes to Trump administration immigration policies.
Caitlin, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Caitlin Doornbos, Washington, D.C. reporter for the New York Post. What do you make of that?